General Hospital will reveal Cody and Molly met through a series of chance encounters, but over time, their closeness and understanding of one another grew into something deeper. They slowly built a genuine friendship, but like many couples, things began to change as their feelings for each other shifted in a romantic direction. From casual meetings to late-night conversations, Cody and Molly gradually realized they were more than just friends. They were two people who could share their deepest secrets and simple joys in life. Cody, with his strong exterior and independent nature, found in Molly a gentleness, understanding, and a warm heart. Molly, intelligent and determined, saw in Cody a man who could become her steady support, despite his rough edges. Every time they were together, their conversations were never boring. And their connection only grew stronger. It seemed like nothing could break the bond that was just beginning to blossom. However, things began to change when interference from Cody's family, particularly his father Mack, made their relationship more complicated and tense. Mack, a man with great power in the family, had always held rigid views on love and marriage. He was not only a strict father but also the controlling force behind many things in the Bell family, from their business dealings to personal relationships. Mack never accepted relationships that he deemed unfit for the family's tradition. One day, Mack happened to discover something that Cody didn't know about Molly. In an unexpected conversation, Mack learned that Molly was unable to have children, a fact that she had never shared with Cody. This revelation hit Mack like a bombshell. As he had always placed great importance on marriage and having children as key components of family life. He believed that children were the continuation of the family legacy. And a relationship with someone who could not have children was unacceptable. To Mack, the absence of a future with children in this relationship posed a serious threat to the Bell family's tradition and legacy. Without hesitation, Mack decided to interfere in Cody and Molly's relationship. He did everything in his power to stop his son from being with Molly, believing it was an unacceptable choice. He used his influence and authority within the family to pressure Cody into ending things with Molly, regardless of how much Cody cared for her. Mack thought that upholding family values and traditions was the most important thing, and he didn't want his son making a mistake that could affect the future of the family. Cody, though surprised and confused, couldn't help but feel conflicted inside. He loved Molly, but now he was facing pressure from his father. He didn't understand why Mack was being so strict and couldn't accept a relationship that wasn't perfect. Cody, always the independent and strong man, now felt trapped between love and family duty. He loved Molly, but he couldn't easily disregard his father's demands. Meanwhile, Molly, upon learning from Cody about his father's intervention in their relationship, felt deeply hurt and angry. She couldn't understand why Mack thought he had the right to interfere in her personal life, especially when he didn't fully understand her relationship with Cody. Mack's intervention not only made Molly feel betrayed but also made her feel disrespected. She had always taken pride in her independence and her ability to make her own choices. And now she felt overshadowed by a man she barely knew. Molly began to feel suffocated and deeply wounded. She had tried to keep things between her and Cody peaceful. But now she realized that things were no longer simple. Her relationship with Cody, which had started with innocence and sincerity, had now become a tangled mess of misunderstandings, hurt, and betrayal. Molly was now facing not only Mack's interference but also Cody, the man she loved but who couldn't stand firm against family pressure. She decided that she couldn't let things end this way. Molly began to plot her revenge, not only against Mack but also against Cody. She felt deceived and wasn't going to let herself be a victim in this story. Although she loved Cody, the pain from his betrayal and his father's interference had pushed her to a new crossroads in her life. Molly wouldn't let Cody and Mack easily escape the consequences of their actions. And she was willing to do whatever it took to protect her dignity and independence. Cody and Molly's story was now not just about a love affair filled with challenges but also a battle between love, family, and personal freedom. The secrets, betrayals, and tough decisions they had to face would continue to test them, and only time would tell whether their love could survive it all. In his worry and fear for his son's future, Mack could not sit idly by as Cody became involved in a relationship with Molly. Not knowing that this relationship would not provide what he considered important for the Bell family. As a powerful and strict father, Mack had always believed that family was not just about love, but about protecting continuity, development, and maintaining the traditional values that had been upheld for generations. For him, one of the most crucial aspects of life was marriage and having children, which Mack saw as an essential part of the future of the family. When he discovered that Molly could not have children, something Cody had no idea about, it was a huge shock to Mack. He had always placed great importance on marriage and children as integral elements of family life. He believed children were the continuation of the family legacy, and a relationship without the possibility of having children was unacceptable. To Mack, the absence of children in Cody's future posed a serious threat to the Bell family's legacy and tradition. Particularly, Mack was even more concerned when he thought about Cody potentially making a mistake in choosing a partner, as a family without children was a family incomplete. Faced with these thoughts, Mack decided to take action to stop Cody and Molly from moving forward in their relationship. He tried everything in his power to pressure Cody into ending things with Molly, believing it was an unacceptable choice. Using his influence and power within the family, Mack imposed his views on Cody. He could not accept that his son would build a future with a woman who could not have children, as he saw it as leading to an imperfect future, one lacking growth and the potential to develop a family. He couldn't understand why Cody didn't realize this, and he couldn't watch his son make what he perceived to be a wrong decision that could affect the family's future. With all his firmness and determination, Mack imposed his perspective on Cody. He didn't hesitate to issue harsh warnings and criticisms, even using his family influence to force Cody to choose between love and his duty to the family. Mack believed that this was for his son's own good. Although Cody felt this was an invasion into his private life and personal choices, Mack's intervention not only left Cody confused but also created a fierce inner conflict within him. Cody loved Molly and wanted to build a future with her, but he couldn't ignore the immense pressure from his family, especially his father. For Molly, Mack's interference was a massive shock. She couldn't understand why Mack thought he had the right to interfere in her personal life, especially when he didn't fully understand her relationship with Cody. Mack's actions not only made Molly feel betrayed but also disrespected. She had always taken pride in her independence and her ability to make her own decisions. But now she felt overshadowed by a man she barely knew. Molly began to feel suffocated and deeply hurt. She had tried to keep things peaceful between her and Cody, but now she realized that everything was no longer simple. Her relationship with Cody, which had started with innocence and sincerity, had now become a tangled mess of misunderstandings, hurt, and betrayal. Molly was now facing not only Mack's interference but also Cody, the man she loved, who couldn't stand firm against family pressure. She decided that she couldn't let things end this way. Molly began to plot her revenge, not only against Mack but also against Cody. She felt deceived and wasn't going to let herself be a victim in this story. Although she loved Cody, the pain from his betrayal and his father's interference had pushed her to a new crossroads in her life. Molly wouldn't let Cody and Mack easily escape the consequences of their actions, and she was willing to do whatever it took to protect her dignity and independence. Cody and Molly's story was now not just about a love affair filled with challenges, but also a battle between love, family, and personal freedom. The secrets, betrayals, and tough decisions they had to face would continue to test them, and only time would tell whether their love could survive it all. Disappointed and deeply hurt, Molly decided that she would not let Mack and Cody easily escape the consequences of what they had done to her. She felt betrayed, not only by Mack, who had interfered with her life and Cody's, but also by Cody, whom she believed had abandoned her at the most critical moment. Molly began to devise a plan for revenge. Not only against Mack but also against Cody, who she felt had left her behind when she needed him the most. She began drawing on the support of those around her to help with her plan. She condemned Cody for not standing up for her when facing his father. The feeling of betrayal in love, combined with the interference from his family, pushed Molly into a deep inner psychological battle. Meanwhile, Cody had to face strong opposition from his family and his own inner conflicts. He clearly felt the difficulty of having to choose between love and duty to his father. But deep down, Cody could not deny his feelings for Molly. Although their relationship had started from a misunderstanding, it had gradually developed into deep affection, and now he had no idea how to handle the situation. Cody could feel the intense pressure as he tried to navigate between his love for Molly and his sense of obligation toward his family. He had always respected his father and felt a strong bond with him, but at the same time, he couldn't ignore the growing love he felt for Molly. The struggle within him was palpable, and it was becoming increasingly difficult for him to reconcile these two parts of his life. He knew that Molly was hurt by the way he had allowed his father to intervene in their relationship. And every time he looked at her, he saw the pain in her eyes, a pain that he felt partially responsible for. His inability to stand up to his father and protect Molly from this interference weighed heavily on him, yet he still couldn't bring himself to break ties with his family. Cody's heart ached as he realized how complex and tangled his feelings had become. He had never expected that loving someone would lead him to such a painful crossroads. For Molly, the feeling of being abandoned was overwhelming. She had placed all her trust in Cody, but now she felt that he was unable to protect her, leaving her vulnerable and exposed. The plans she began to form were not just about getting back at Mack for his intrusion, but also about showing Cody that he could not simply walk away from the consequences of his actions. She could not let them forget the pain they had caused her, and in her mind, if love couldn't protect her, then power and vengeance were her only remaining options. Cody, on the other hand, was torn between the love he had for Molly and his loyalty to his father. He was painfully aware that every decision he made would have far-reaching consequences. But he also felt paralyzed by the weight of his family's expectations. Every time he saw Molly, he felt the growing conflict inside him, the need to protect her. Yet knowing that doing so could mean losing the respect of his father, and possibly even his place within his family. The struggle between love and duty was tearing him apart. And no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find a way to resolve it. Both Molly and Cody found themselves at the brink of a profound emotional and psychological conflict. Each grappling with their own feelings of betrayal, love, and loyalty. As their paths continued to diverge, the future of their relationship seemed uncertain. With the tension between them growing stronger by the day. Would Cody be able to choose love over duty, or would Molly's plans for revenge push them even further apart? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain, the emotional stakes were higher than ever, and the journey ahead would test them both in ways they could never have anticipated. As the secrets and conflicts within the family gradually came to light, Cody and Molly were confronted with a series of difficult decisions that would shape the future of their relationship. The truth about their past misunderstandings, combined with the deeply entrenched resistance from Mack, placed them at a crossroads where every choice seemed fraught with emotional and moral consequences. The stakes were higher than ever as they struggled to reconcile their love with the external pressures weighing on them. The intense disapproval from Mack, Cody's father, had already placed a massive strain on their bond. Mack's refusal to accept Molly because of her inability to have children had led to a series of confrontations, leaving Cody caught in the middle of a battle between his loyalty to his family and his love for Molly. To make matters worse, the more Cody tried to defend his feelings for Molly, the more he found himself alienated from his father, someone he had always respected and relied on. In his heart, Cody knew that standing up to Mack could lead to a permanent rift in their relationship. But he was also realizing that continuing to stay silent in the face of Molly's pain would only deepen the wound. Molly, on the other hand, felt betrayed not just by Mack's intervention but by Cody's inability to take a firm stand for their relationship. The emotional toll had been immense. She had invested so much into this love, only to find herself confronted by rejection and manipulation. With every passing day, the bitterness and hurt began to consume her. And she resolved that she couldn't allow herself to be vulnerable anymore. She had to reclaim her power. And revenge, though not something she initially desired, became an outlet for her pent-up frustration and anger. She began to make plans, slowly gathering her strength and resources, preparing herself for a confrontation that would shake the very foundation of her relationship with Cody. The possibility of revenge was something Molly had never imagined. But the deep sense of betrayal she felt pushed her to the edge. As she weighed her options, she realized that making Cody pay for his failure to protect her from his family might give her a sense of closure. It was a path fraught with moral complexity. But it seemed to be the only way she could regain her sense of control. The more she plotted her next move, the more she became determined to make Cody understand the pain he had caused her. The relationship that had once been full of hope and promise now seemed like a battleground where only one person would emerge victorious. At the same time, Cody's internal conflict was intensifying. He knew that his feelings for Molly were genuine, but he also understood the complexities of the situation. On one hand, there was the love he shared with her, a love that had grown from the ground up, built on trust and shared moments of vulnerability. On the other hand, there was the weight of family expectations and the unspoken pressure to conform to the ideals that had been passed down through generations. Mack's authority was not something easily dismissed. And Cody found himself torn between the man who had raised him and the woman he had come to care for deeply. As the tension between them escalated, the possibility of reconciliation seemed more and more distant. Every attempt Cody made to bridge the gap between his family and Molly only seemed to push them further apart. He began to question his own actions. Was he doing enough to protect Molly, or was he simply too afraid to face the wrath of his father? His feelings of guilt mounted as he realized that by not standing up for Molly, he had allowed her to feel abandoned, isolated, and, most painfully, unloved. Cody was trapped in a vicious cycle, unable to break free from the expectations placed upon him. Meanwhile, Molly's anger and sense of betrayal only deepened as she saw Cody's inability to confront his father. Despite her feelings of rage, she couldn't completely shut out the love she still had for him. The emotional turmoil inside her was a constant battle. On one hand, she wanted to make Cody feel the pain she had endured, but on the other hand, a part of her still longed for the man she had once believed would be her protector. Her journey towards revenge began to blur the lines between right and wrong, and she found herself questioning if the path she was taking would lead to healing or further destruction. The future of their relationship now hinged on several critical factors: trust, forgiveness, patience, and acceptance. Could Cody and Molly overcome the immense obstacles in their path? Could they look beyond their past wounds and misunderstandings to find a way back to each other? Or would Molly's desire for revenge ultimately push them further into the depths of conflict, making reconciliation impossible? In the end, their story was no longer just about love. It was about the painful process of coming to terms with the flaws in their relationship and understanding that sometimes love alone isn't enough to fix the damage caused by betrayal and interference. The choices they made in the coming days would define not only the future of their love but also the path to forgiveness, a journey that would require both of them to confront the harsh realities of their situation and decide if they could accept the things they could not change. The question now was whether they could find a way to heal or if the wounds were too deep to ever truly mend. Their story was no longer just about the pursuit of happiness, it had evolved into a battle for their emotional survival. Only time would tell whether they could rise above the mistakes and misunderstandings, or if they would be consumed by the lingering shadows of the past.